be adjusted until my voice can be clearly understood in all sections of the room. You are now ready to participate in another Pan-American travel adventure.
Coming into Tokyo is always a big surprise. The great Oriental city is changing. At first glance, it looks almost as Western as New York, London, Paris, and the tranquil Japanese pace is speeded up in tempo. The tempo is still 20th century as this giant jet clipper taxis in at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. At first view, among these 9 million cosmopolites, there's little sign of the past. Western-style dress is everywhere now. The expensive kimonos are usually worn on special occasions only, but they've also assimilated and refined the significant elements of other Asian cultures so that now the world's largest city is one of the most colorful and exciting. Tourists come to see how this capital city has risen from the ashes of war to become a great metropolis of the world. Not too many rickshaws anymore, but the youngsters can rely on an even older taxi called piggyback. Women are rapidly gaining complete independence in this democracy, but here's a sign of the past. Travelers anointing themselves with incense at a street vendor's, a custom shrouded in antiquity. With their newfound freedom, young men will celebrate and do a snake dance with little prompting. One of the most popular events in Japan is the Shichi-Go-San, which means 753. It's a festival when youngsters of these ages dress in their best kimonos and attend the shrine for a blessing. Clothes and old customs long ago decided the ages. Girls of 7, boys of 5, and 3-year-olds of both sexes. Children should be included in any tour of Japan. They symbolize the blending of the past and the future too, as they learn both the pleasures and philosophies of the West and the wisdom and mysteries of the East. History, for example, has taught them with a flair of showmanship. A traveling storyteller and a candy vendor attracts his young customers with breathtaking tales that have a moral. Supervised by both union and government, the paper theaters are staged among groups of lower education. The storytelling salesman is clever in both dramatics and economics. He tells one historical story and one up-to-date thriller, leaving both to be continued till next time around. In the shopping and theater district, you can almost see it change before your eyes. In the few years they've been rebuilding, they've made a city as fascinating as the movies that captivate them. There's another kind of movie at night, a spectacle all around you. Modern nightlife smashes an entire age of tradition, but times are changing, the young people say, and even the older generation likes the tourism that the bright lights bring. In contrast to the nightlife, the holy temples and shrines of Buddhism and Shintoism offer serenity for the soul and simple beauty for the eye. Though Buddhism ebbs and flows in Japan, it inspires peace and constructiveness and has been the source of most Japanese art and culture. Art and religion are combined once more in this classical dance by a Shinto priest, enacting the age-old legend of conflict between the gods and the demons. The ancient accompaniment hasn't changed in 1,000 years. Not all of the old ways are so artistic. This unique version of dueling, Kendo, where the weapon is held with two hands, is marked by fierce rushes with cat-like agility, swords crashing together, occasionally on heads, but in practice with sticks only. Behind these doors, a Japanese family enjoys a simple meal together with rice, of course, the staple. They always use chopsticks, but a knife and a fork are available for a Western visitor. Eating Japanese food is a favorite activity for visitors here. Nothing tastes better than sukiyaki and tempura. Our little friend could eat rice 3 times a day, and probably does. Of an entirely different nature to dining is the tea ceremony, a pastime unique to Japan, an exacting ritual that lasts 2 to 3 hours. Based on Zen Buddhism and its long periods of quiet thought, the service provides a removal from the tensions of modern times, a case where an ancient rite supplies the antidote for the stepped-up industrial pace. Every action of significance. The ceremony has remained the same over the ages. The rules of etiquette are elaborate. The salutation must be silent, but the valuable utensils must be admired extravagantly. The host is the only one who can serve, and intruders are absolutely forbidden lest the tranquility be broken. Also unaffected by modern changes are the artworks of the Japanese who retain their artistic inheritance and whose patience and refinement are expressed in their precise and delicate crafts. Their creations in silk still beautify the entire world, and the material never looks more attractive than when it's fresh from the loom. Processing the silk is also a colorful performance. Famous for brilliant patterns, the fabrics are imprinted with fast dyes and rinsed in a river. At this stage, the cloth seems completely remote from the tiny silkworm that spun it. But that was the origin of this material, as it was in 2700 BC, an elastic and smooth thread, ready now for a multitude of uses. Not only silks and cottons, shoppers find bargains in fabrics of all kinds. And with an exchange of 360 yen to $1, they get a strong yen for fine jewelry, the mysterious cultured pearls that adorn the glamorous women of the world. This noble gem, which since the days of Cleopatra has remained one of the most regal ornaments of a woman, is the product of an irritated oyster. But where it comes from, she doesn't care, for it's the oyster and the man who pay. Here's where the jewels are manufactured, more properly called pearl farming. To grow the precious gems, girl divers bring up certain kinds of oysters in which seeds will be planted. After 5 more years of growth, the irritated bivalves produce, often 3 or 4 gems in one oyster. Pearls, the only jewel from the sea and the only one really formed by a living process. It alone comes to us perfected by nature, owing nothing to a jeweler, for he cannot improve upon it. It is a perfect gem, and through the ages its gleaming whiteness has symbolized purity. It's a picturesque landscape in all sections of the country, for the masterpieces of nature are almost sacred here. Gardening is an art developed from very old times with elaborate arrangements of grass, rocks, shrubs, trees, and water. All have their part in the composite of Japan. The Kegon waterfall drops so sharply, the wind and air turn the water into a lace-like drapery, which blends with the rising mist. Traveling through Japan today is a stirring experience, and magnificent, sacred Mount Fuji stands as a beacon, a landmark, a spiritual inspiration to the 90 million Japanese, and a welcome to the rest of the world.